So Selena is one of our members. She's been a part of our community for a few months now. Um, and what I love about Selena is on the surface, you don't expect her to, she's a consultant, she's a coach, she's into leadership, and it's all very black and white from the outside looking in. But then when you find out all the other things that she does, all the other things that she volunteers for, all the other things and the people that she helps, just blows me away. So I was really delighted when I said, would you like to present today? She was very happy to say yes. And she would like to do it as an interview style. So I get to interview her again. Now, if you want to hear some of the things that she talks about, there's a podcast out there as well, Being Human, Hidden Depths. Linda will put the link in later on during this session. But Selena has already done a podcast, but this will be an extended version of the podcast. So we get to find out more about her. So I'm going to stop my share now. And let's find Selena in the audience. I'm going to go to speaker view. There we go. Where are you, Selena? Can you speak for me and then I'll see you?
Okay. Hello, I'm here.
There we go. There we go. And we are recording. Lovely. Let me just find my little notes because we've had a little chat about this. The problem with me and Selena is once we start talking.
We haven't got hours.
No, so I'm going to look. We've got about half an hour to have a chat, 20 minutes to half an hour. I think because Jonathan's not here, we might sneak some of his minutes as well. So, Selena, first and foremost, briefly tell us about you, the little girl you, the person that we see before us. How have you become this person that is like all-seeing, all-knowing around leadership? What was your journey and what were the little skipping points? I don't need to know about what exams you passed. I don't need to know about what jobs you've had. Just tell us the little moments that you went, this is what I should be doing.
Okay, so the little girl me was probably very different in a way. Actually, in some ways, quite different to kind of who I am now. I was and I still kind of am an introvert person, but I was very, very shy. Like don't like speaking, would cry. But at the same time, I had this sort of other side where I was very much pulled to challenge things, to challenge kind of preconceptions or how things were supposed to be, like, like, I don't know, stereotypes even of things or injustices. So it was that sort of like, I'm really shy and I'm really scared and I don't want to be around people and I want to hide. But at the same time, I can kind of like, there's something to be, to challenge and to go different. And I suppose that's something actually that's been a real threat in my kind of life is that sense of that. And to get older, like with my career as well, I've had multiple careers, multiple things a lot of time in multiple studies. So it's that sort of real interest in learning, like that's always been a thread. Like I was always like, I loved school, like loved it, absolutely loved learning. So, and even as an like that's something that continually like allows me to like investigate. So yeah, they're definitely key kind of essential components of me. Then it was real sort of interest in finding out people, like understanding people, how people worked, how mindset worked. And I think especially in a lot of my careers, I started to see the real difference of how leadership impacts on output, kind of impacts on what people do, how people do it. I worked in a lot of jobs where we had awful leadership and everyone felt, there was the challenges kind of around people feeling it. And I've worked in environments where, as I said, we were helping careers, but yet our own kind of what we were dealing with was completely the opposite. So being a careers advisor and then kind of like your own career is a bit like not looked after, but yet you're having to think about other people and being able to challenge that. then at the same token, working with some really good leaders in different settings who really empowered, inspired, supported people, and wanting to really measure that difference. I think for me, like those were the sort of the main things. Then it's the education side as well. So again, I've a whole lot around that. So, what is it that, how does education make us different? What is it about learning? What is it about growth? And then being also a person who, especially like through my business and through my career, is very much about structure. Like I love structure, I love systems, I love kind of that foundation of stuff, but being creative as well, kind of, as I said, doing things like in acting and drama and all of that to now make the crazy wherever I am, whatever I am now.
That's perfect, actually. You can see all the little drips along the way, can't you? It's all very well going forward, going, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. But when you look back and go, oh, it was obvious, it's all coming together. And I can see why you and I have got those links, because injustice was a very big thing in my life when I was little. Also loving the learning, but not necessarily being that outgoing, Jack at the front of the class. And just understanding that you want to make a difference, and you know that you can coming forward. Now, when we were talking about having this conversation, we were talking about that we entitled it How to Be Your Own CEO. Now, what's really interesting, there's many business owners out there that have started their business because they wanted to do one thing, like in the famous example with Michael Gerber in the E-Myth, talks about the lady that wants to make pies. She's good at making pies. She loves making pies. It's her skill, it's her talent, but she's not great at the finance and the marketing and all the other stuff that goes with it. So when you start out in business as your own CEO, which we all are, but we just don't realize it at that time, what are sort of the top three things that people come up, what are the top three problems that people are going to come up against again and again that's going to kind of thwart their ambition for their business?
So one major one, and it's something kind of that we come up against at different stages, it is that doing everything. And because we're doing everything, we're being everything, and we're like, we're conflicting and running with the rest of life, that then causes its own challenges as well, because you find yourself, and there's definite need to in particular stages of business in life to do everything. However, that same doing everything is what then leads us kind of into another challenge as well. So it's one, in that mindset, I think, of being able to sort of be comfortable with one, letting go, be comfortable when you're trying to do everything to realize that you actually can't do everything. And I think especially with sort of the online world that we have, and kind of you see other people's models of things, and you think that needs to be your model, and with that kind of comes a lot of guilt. It comes a lot of like, I need to do this, I'm not doing that, and it's not working like that, so therefore I am not doing the right thing. So that also kind of, I think, gets us into like a bit of a head spin of overwhelm, and a head spin of, right, we're trying to fit everything in. And I know, again, kind of years ago, the whole kind of mentality around hustle and that sort of image of business owners being able to be at it 24/7 and like don't sleep and exist on fresh air, like all of that kind of thing doesn't help people at all. And because, as I said, a lot of us really want to do well, we want to help. So it's that thing of trying to juggle everything, trying to spin everything, kind of, and then finding ourselves in that kind of place. Again, connected to that as well is the idea of we find ourselves not doing things that are in our strength to do. Now, I think there's a whole kind of conversation and a caveat kind of around coming out of our comfort zone, which we definitely need to do. But then there are some times that we sort of waste a lot of time because we're banging our head against a brick wall and we're forcing. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. But actually, that's wasting time, like, as well. The other thing I think as well that sort of is around, it's the overwhelm, it's the overwork, it's trying to do things that you don't, not being able to let go. I think that's a huge one for a lot of people as well, and not necessarily understanding or realizing. I think because life business things work very much in seasons, like we have seasons. So there's a time and a place, I think, for everything. There's a time and a place to operate under a certain level. So when we first start our business, like needs must, we must do everything. We must, we think we must. There's some things that we don't have the resource kind of financially to do. So we do have to bootleg and kind of bootstrap a little bit. However, there's a season where it's like, or there might be projects or things that we've got to really work hard for. However, there kind of comes that season where it's like you can come out of survival mode. You don't need to be in survival. You don't need to be kind of hustle, hustle, hustle. And it's about moving to a different space. And I think when we talk about leadership as well, in terms of our mind and how our mind operates, it's that understanding. Like, I don't need to be rushing, responding to everything quickly, like running in there. But actually, what it is about, or what's really important, is that I step back and I listen first. Like for me, I go to a lot of meetings where actually my first point of call was just listening. I may not say anything, but it doesn't mean I'm not contributing or thinking about things or I've got no interest. But it just means I've got to listen. I've got to find out first before I come in. And I think particularly as business owners, the more, and leaders, the more we kind of go on that journey, a lot is about being able to listen first to understand, so you know the right strategy to bring in without kind of racing in. And I think our natural instinct, and especially when we first start, is about that rushing, that doing, but it's kind of coming from a different place. I think, yeah, those are the kind of main areas that I find.
Yeah, I do you know what? I resonate with all of those things you've said over the years. If only we knew then what we know now, eh? And that feeling of being that headless chicken running around like crazy, trying to get it all done, and the pressure, and I can't, and you can see this kind of mental breakdown just two steps in front of you, and you're catching up with it, and you're about to crack. And when I first started out many, many years ago, I was not sure of myself, in that I have massive imposter syndrome. And so I was constantly, I need to do it right. Just tell me the right way to do it, and I'll do that. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know where I'll find the time, but tell me the right way to do it. And there is no right way, it's just what you find works for you. So it's so difficult. So the sort of people that come to you for advice and support, do you find that they are at the sort of headless chicken stage and having a little panic?
Yeah, a lot of them are, but some of them are, but it's also about where in the process. Because I think with a lot of people, they've been headless chicken, they're in the fire. And it's because of something now that they're like, okay, I now have to. Whereas I think, if we're able to realize kind of in that step before, like, that's brilliant. But a lot of people are, maybe they've had their business for a little while, they've been operating in whatever they've been doing. And now it's like, oh, hang on. I started for love and passion, but it's not getting fun anymore. I don't like those late nights. Like, I'm not liking this. So they're already kind of like feeling the burn a little bit, like whether it's, and juggling the multiple kind of things. So now it's about being able to kind of really step back and kind of say, okay, right, so you want to grow, you want to move forward. Okay, so if you do it the way you're doing, you're not going to be there. So let's try and look at a different way. Or, they've been, as I said, maybe burnt a little bit, and they're thinking, right, I want to do more of this, I want to grow, but actually this isn't sustainable if I keep working like this. So now let's look at a different option, to kind of, that's more sustainable, more fun, brings me back to the passion and the idea of what I actually want.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, how easy it is to get caught in that downward spiral, and I would imagine a lot of people have gone, it's not fun, I'm too tired, I'm out. Where's that job that I used to do? I'll go and do a job again. And then they go into the job and they realize, oh, now I remember why I left in the first place. And I think there is two schools of thought, isn't there? There's the people that start their own business because they're passionate about it, because they want to do it, and they see it as a really good thing that's going to help people and it's going to be lovely. And there's those that start a new business because they're escaping the life they don't want.
Yeah.
And it's being able to turn it around. And I think understanding who you are in all of that is a really powerful thing, because well, you talk often about control, don't you? And being in control.
Yeah.
And I think when you understand who you are, what's your purpose? What's your mission? Why are you doing this? what gets you out of bed in the morning, all of those things. When you understand that, it kind of puts you back in control. Even if there's all the stuff still to be done, it gives you that clarity of mind that you go, well, I'll do that later. I'll go and do that later, but this is the thing I'm going to do now. And you take it on board. Sorry, I thought you were going to say something then.
Well, yeah, I was going to say it's a good, like when you mentioned about the why people start businesses as well. And actually, in my case, kind of, I was in the career that I hate. Pay is not working very well right now. Life is not working. I'm 2 seconds away from like burnout and whatever, and I just need to stop. So I'm running. I'm getting away, and I'm getting out of this job. However, over the years, as I said, I've worked in between having my business, and actually I'm working in a place kind of part-time as well. But actually what I find is that point that you said about finding what you love, and everything pointing to that sort of underpinning of what you do. So in the kind of the role that I've got in my business, in my charity that I work with as well, everything that I'm doing is pointed to and around systems, structure, leadership, business, like every single thing. And I'm like, I didn't realize that really at all, like what the commonalities were, or even, like you find yourself going into an opportunity or starting on doing something, and you don't even think about it sometimes, but it's actually kind of sitting down going, you know what, this makes sense. This is my training grounds for, this is where I'm getting to build this. This is where I'm getting, and I think that definitely is the key thing as well, was when we're doing things, I think, for the right reasons, and how you have that underpinning passion, again, you find that in different situations as well.
For sure. And I think the world is changing more now, especially after the year we've just had. People are realizing that you can't just go to work for the money.
That's it.
It
Yeah.
doesn't feed you. I mean, it feeds you literally,
But it
but
doesn't feed you.
it doesn't feed your soul, does it?
No.
And it's like, well, there must be more to life than this. And ultimately, that's what we're like at Collaboration Global. There is more to life. It's about helping other people and supporting and using your talents and your skills to show somebody else the way forward. So when you've got someone in front of you that is kind of having that mini panic, and they're a bit confused and they want control and they feel like they're losing it, what's your advice? What would you say if somebody's listening to this right now? What would you say, right, step 1, step 2, step 3, this will get you in a space of so that you can think more clearly?
Yeah, I think the first step is definitely stop. Like, just stop, pause, and breathe. Even for myself, if I find myself in those days where it's like, my diary is just like overflowing with stuff, and and I've got phone calls, and I've got 2 phones ringing, and it's all mad. I think the first thing is just stop. Like, stop. First of all, don't touch anything, don't do anything, stop. And if it's like you have, a glass of water, you have a tea, sit down. Like, tea makes everything better. Like, I always say that.
For sure.
Just stop. Like, that's the first thing. Then it's about getting to, I suppose, through that, when you have that perspective and step back, it allows you to really analyze, to see, to look at really what's important, and what's happening. And you start having those conversations. Like, I know for myself, when I find myself in that bit, I'm like, I probably sound a bit crazy, but I start like literally having conversation with myself. It's like, what's happening here, Selena? Like, what's going on? Like, how are you think? Like, literally, I probably sound crazy. But it's having to be able to really walk yourself through the process and kind of say, okay, so this is happening to me. Why am I feeling like this? And just really talking about your feelings kind of to yourself. And then you start to look at, okay, what are the decisions? What are my options? What are my different routes? Do I need to get some help here? Is there someone else I can be talking to? And I think when you kind of follow that process, and I think that's the important thing, and that's why we need the stepping back, is so we can think, because our autopilot, our inside wants to kind of go fast forward and accelerate and get us to start doing and thinking and reacting. But actually, it's like, you know what? I don't need to react. I just need to like, wait, respond, be proactive, but I've got to step back before I can do that.
For sure. Do you know what? Sometimes, every so often, everybody goes through it, no matter how committed they are to the charity they work for or the mission that they've got going. And sometimes it's all just too much. And I kind of, my acknowledgement for myself when I go in those spaces is I'm not happy. I'm not happy. Why am I not happy? Now, I'm not saying you have to be happy 24/7 because that doesn't exist, right? But when you know you're getting up in the morning and you've got trudge and it's like, but I'm supposed to be enjoying this. This is
Yeah.
supposed to be fun. I gave up this to do this. Why am I not enjoying it?
Hmm.
And then I get to that, as you say, that stop space of like, okay, well, give yourself 24 hours, or ultimately, if I need to really think about life, I have to go to the coast. I have to be near the ocean and, get my feet in the water and I can think more clearly. It's some, I don't know what it is, but my head just goes bang, bang, bang. I can see exactly what's going on. And then I ask myself this question: if you weren't doing this, what else would you be doing? And at the moment, for the last 8 years, we're like, there's nothing else. There's nothing else on this planet that I would rather be doing than what I'm doing right now. So therefore, it's like, right, okay, so we're not going anywhere. We're not going to change and pivot 180 degrees and go and do something else. So what's the thing that's causing you not to be happy?
Yeah.
And you know it. You know what it is. In my thing, people keep putting spreadsheets in front of my face. I can't do spreadsheets. I can do spreadsheets, right? I just don't enjoy it. So it's just knowing that I've had too much of this and not enough of that. I need a
Exactly.
bit more of this and none of that. And it might be, which I know you've suggested before, the art of delegation, outsourcing, all of those lovely things that you can work out how to do. And even if you can't do it immediately, you can go, well, next month I've got this money coming in, so then I can do that. So I can work for the next 2 weeks to get into that space, and then I'm giving myself that breathing space. And knowing you've got something on the horizon, all of a sudden your headspace stops going panic.
Yeah.
Just goes, okay, all right, we've got a plan. We've got a plan. We can do this.
Life is cool.
Exactly. But the best thing for me, and I'm very blessed that I've got the old dream team that I often talk about, is you've got to talk to someone. And when you're a one-man band, to be able to pick the phone up to someone like you, Selena, and go, for someone else to make it, sane and clear, and you're not saying what you should do is this and this and this and this, because that's not what you're here for. You're here to unpack everything that's going on and understand it all, and then make it clear for me, so it's all sitting in front of me, so I can go, oh, I didn't realize that. I didn't know that hadn't crossed my mind. And it might be ridiculous, something like, well, if you're working every evening and you're not going to bed till midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe half your problems is you're just absolutely knackered. So go to bed early for 4 or 5 nights, and then you'll be able to actually be more productive in the long run. It's silly little things like that when you're in it, just don't see it, do you?
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It's just that being able to gain that different perspective and just kind of step back. Yeah, exactly. And balance. I think that's a really like big thing as well, what you were saying. Because like even with myself, because I again with the multiple kind of things that I do, if I do more of one thing, that again, like I find that takes me kind of out of whack as well. So
Mm.
if I mean, and for an extended period of time. So if I'm like doing things, for example, with the charity, like it's over everything else, because that needs a part of my brain or a part of my strength, that then means I haven't got the balance. So I look at, okay, right, so if creativity is a part of it, how can I be creative a little, bring a bit more creativity? So is that doing more client facing stuff? Is that doing more of the creation stuff, more of the this kind of stuff as well? And it's being aware of the different parts of us, the different components, the different ways we work. So whether you've got one job, multiple jobs, or what it is, but it's about understanding you and that process and how they all fit together, I think, as well.
Yeah, perfect. I've just looked into the chat space very briefly, and it's so apt that, where are we? Maria has just said, I have for the first time in my life started to take 2 hours for me before starting work, and the results are staggering. Yeah, well done, Maria. It's just finding something that can be really, on the one hand, so common sense, and on the other hand, feels like it's revolutionary. And you just don't always see it. You can't see the wood for the trees. And that's why I would always advocate talking to somebody else that's not involved. When I say talking to somebody else, if your mum's still around and you want to have a chat with your mum, she'll solve a million problems, but she probably won't know much about business unless she's been a businesswoman herself.
Well,
So
mine.
and she'll be protecting you. She'll be protecting. Oh no, darling, don't do that. Oh no, that sounds a bit risky. So, and that's what mums do, and that's what mums are for. But and you might have your best friend that you want to share stuff with, but again, they might work, I don't know, down the coal board or somewhere, and not have any concept of your business or your mission or your purpose or your problems. And all they can do is sympathize and say, have another glass of wine. And you're thinking, well, I've had 3 already. Maybe the 4th one's probably a bit too much. It's going to someone that understands, going to someone that goes, yeah, most of my clients have been through this. And you're like, really? It's not just me then. I'm not going crazy. And you've got that opportunity to just talk to someone, and having that space. And that's, again, what I love about Collaboration Global, because if there isn't you talking about leadership, then there's Gina talking about leadership, or there's someone else talking about relationships, or there's someone else talking about, there's always people that you can go to with this honest space, and they will challenge you. Because sometimes you need to be challenged, don't you? It's like, well, Jill, really? Should you be doing it like that? And again, that's like I say, I've got the dream team, but anybody in the community could challenge me, and I welcome it. I might not agree with it, but I welcome it because it makes you think from a different perspective, makes you see things from, oh, hello, didn't think about that one. That's clever. And all of a sudden you're back on track, and you can keep going. What I love is that your areas of expertise come from really unusual places. I mean, for somebody who doesn't currently have any children, you're a school governor. I mean, and that's a wealth of education in itself, isn't it? I mean, how did you get involved with that?
So I've been a school governor since 2009, chair now in one school. I started because I had a real passion and interest for education. So I've worked in education in terms of teaching and sort of frontline and adult education. But I really wanted to understand from a strategic point of view how education worked. So not just the doing, kind of the what we see, but actually how it's put together and what the mechanism looked like. Plus being really passionate about community and children and injustice, all of that brought me to join. And I started with it was one school originally, and they were again a community school in the Croydon area. There was a lot of struggles with the school and what was happening. And as I said, I started to get really interested in that school again, kind of became an academy. So I was, again, working across both schools, again, still working, still doing what I was doing. It was interesting because most of the governors were either retired or they were parents or it was teachers. There wasn't kind of at that time, although it started to be more people that got into it kind of for that purpose. But yeah, I was just really fascinated. And as I said, I've then moved to another school as well. So I had the 2 schools that I was working with, and then the third kind of in a different area. I was vice chair as well. And so it was like so super busy. Now, the school that I'm with currently, as I said, I've been with them since like 2014 now. I'm the chair of that governing body, that committee, and they, yeah, again, like all of them have gone through the process from kind of, and so it's like I've been able to take across the learning from the others to now for this one. And again, where I was saying about kind of the whole thing about a lot of things I'm doing is about strategy and building. And so it's been, being in schools that are in really difficult situations, hardly any governors, really struggling, to having to like build a vision with people, collaborate, to think about leadership, think about the way that things can develop and can grow, and then also thinking about myself as a leader. There's been a lot of situations where it's been really intimidating on the face of things to be there, being again kind of ethnically as well, not very diverse communities, age-wise as well. You go into settings and people are looking at you like, are you his parent, are you? And I'm like, not. And I'm in the chat, going, so having older members of, that have been there in the schools in terms of other governors kind of look at you like, oh, little girl, who are you? and actually being able to sort of overcome that. But I find, as I said, not in a way that's like loud and brash, but actually, right, let me, through my experience, through what I do, listen very gently. I don't need to fight, but be able to just do what I do and make the changes that I do and work with people. So yeah, it's been a
Mm.
really interesting journey. I'm definitely not gonna leave. It's something that I really love, really passionate about as well. And it's just, yeah, just how much kind of change and again the side of your brain that uses as well, which yeah, is really enjoyable.
Mm. That's what I love when I hear people that you think are in one box and you find out that they're in 20 boxes along the way. That's brilliant. Thank you, Selena. If somebody, we've just come to the end of our time, my darling, although, as I say, you and I could chat forever.
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to contact you, apart from coming to a Collaboration Global meeting and dropping their little contact details in the box if they want to talk to you directly in the chat space, what's a good way of emailing you or getting in touch?
So yeah, so people can find me on Facebook under my name. My business name is Caterpillar to Butterfly, or LinkedIn as well.
Lovely. Okay, thank you so much. It's been a
Thank
joy,
you.
and
It's been a
hopefully people have
pleasure.
got. If anyone's recognised themselves in this or are concerned about anything that they're going through, I'd like to say, was it Channel 4/support? But yeah, make sure you get in touch with Selena if you recognise yourself and you would like to have a chat with someone who can give you that bit of sanity back. Thank you, my darling.
Thank
Quick round
you.
of applause. Thank you very much. That was lovely.